All right. Good morning, everybody. We want to thank all of you and all of our media partners for taking the time out this morning to come out to allow us the opportunity to share our experience as public safety officials, as citizens of the city of Mesa, as a collaborative group to be able to give insight into this situation that happened Monday evening with regard to the vehicle into the canal. Without further ado, I would like to bring up, I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Forrest Smith. I'm a Deputy Chief at the Mesa Fire and Medical Department, and I will be passing the microphone over here to Steve Berry, who's a media detective for the Mesa Police Department.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Again, as Forrest said, this is a great collaboration of a group of people that are sitting here next to us today to bring resolution and safety to one of our citizens in need. Just to give a little bit of perspective, I know most of you have not, I don't know that many of you have heard the tape yet, but I'm going to give you about a 30-second snippet of the tape, the 911 call that came in. This is from actually inside the car, the woman herself calling in, speaking to one of the public safety dispatchers.
Are you sure you said out of school? Is there another cross street? What business are you nearby? Okay, can you get out of your vehicle? Because we need you to get out of the car. I need to get your location also. Out of school, Rio Salado, or out of school, Baltimore. Where are you at?
As you can hear there, it's difficult. Obviously, we have some language issues that we're dealing with, but everyone remains calm, which is important in this situation. But you can clearly hear her say that she can't get out of the car, the water's coming up, and she can't swim. And that really kind of sets the stage for the story that you're about to hear today. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the time back over to Forrest.
Okay, as Steve mentioned there, and as you know, what we want to do is give you a big picture view of what happened that night and what transpired. Initially, as you heard from the call coming through, we obviously had somebody who was in a great deal of distress, but with knowing that we had somebody in distress there and trying to figure out where that person was at, there was another part of the system that came into play here, and it was the initial call. It had to also take somebody out there who happened to be in the right place at the right time to make this call, to make the 911 call that activated the system that also gave us an opportunity to come out and help this person. So if I could bring up to the podium Jason Martin and Nikki Cortez. Jason and Nikki are going to give a brief synopsis of what they experienced that night.
Good morning. So we were driving together down Alma School, and as my fiance here was driving, I happened to look over to my right, and I saw a vehicle in the canal. I told him quickly. He turned around as quick as he could, and I called 911, gave her all the information that I could, and we waited what seemed like forever, but thankfully they got there in time. So.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been possible without you. She gave the 911 instructions very clear and very calm. She didn't panic at all. If she didn't spot the car, who knows what could have happened to the lady inside the vehicle.
Definitely didn't feel calm. It was scary.
Thank you. Right. Thank you very much. Talking to Nikki, I just have to quote what she said earlier. She said, all I did was just make a call. But as you'll see, a simple call what that was in her mind. Now, if I could bring up Monica and Julie, they're part of the Mesa Police Department and the Mesa Regional Dispatch Center, and they're going to give some insight to what they saw. Again, as Steve mentioned earlier, we're going to give you copies of the full 911 call that came from within the vehicle. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Monica Payne. I work for Mesa Police, and this is
Julie Briones. I work for Mesa Fire, Mesa Regional Dispatch Center.
During the evening of the storm, we had a lot of calls, and our communications 911 was ringing off the hook. And on this evening, we got a call from Miss Fan saying that she was in trouble, and we or I tried to find the location for her. And for any emergency, the biggest thing is the location. And she gave me 3 different locations, but we were able to find where she was at. I brought Julie on the phone with me for fire dispatch, and she'll tell us her part of the story.
When Monica brought the caller on the phone with me, it was clearly there was a language barrier there, and I was struggling to get a location from her. And Monica and I were going back and forth because she kept giving 3 different locations where the caller said she was, and that she was underwater in a canal, but she was in the intersection of Alma School and Rio Salado. Well, I knew that there was a water rescue working north of there, but she kept insisting she was in the intersection. So I entered another call for service. We had trucks going to that location at the time, and we were still struggling with finding out where she was because of her phase 1 phone. It wasn't, it pings a tower and it gives a very large location. There's no way to pinpoint where the caller's at. So that was a struggle with locating her anyhow. And basically I asked her, we confirmed that she was in the canal, in the water, and we could hear the water rising, and you could actually hear it flowing around her. And I asked her if she had her seatbelt on. She did. I asked her to remove her seatbelt. She confirmed that she could not swim, so I couldn't ask her to get out of the vehicle. We were kind of not sure what to do at that point. We were just praying that help could get there to her quickly. And as the water's rising, you can hear it flowing in her vehicle. Her cell phone goes dead at that point. We confirm how close our trucks are. We hang up and move on to the next 911 call after that.
So it was definitely a scary situation for both of us, just knowing that we might have lost someone on the phone and praying that the units get to her in time, and that
Thankfully, we have a good working rapport, and I was grateful that it was Monica on the phone with me and that we were able to work through this together.
yeah, definitely. I think we really did. Julie called me in the call to assist, and knowing that, you know, she had her guys going and we had our PD on the way, and that just knowing that help is on the way is the comfort that we had that night. So yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. As they talked about, and what you saw right there was a collaboration between the police department and the fire and medical department from the dispatch standpoint, but there's also the collaboration that happens on a regular basis on scenes, car accidents, fires, which we're working with the police department on a regular basis. But we also saw that on this incident. We had the Mesa Police Department on scene there as well. Typically, they're giving us intel, giving us other information, and helping us locate vehicles. So police department had a huge presence in the field as well. But also, one of the things that we typically see and what people will see is we'll go online, and we all have social media accounts where we happen to catch that one video that tells a story. It's an image that captures the moment. It's that image that really captivates and catches our attention. And a person who was there at a time, I would have to say at the right time, to be able to help tell our story and to be able to share the gravity of this situation was Merrill Brimley. Merrill, would you please come up? Merrill captured the video that you've all seen on social media, of course, with our local media outlets as well. Merrill?
So that day that it happened, I happened to be at home. I live a couple of blocks just south of the canal, and I heard the fire trucks going. It was interesting. I heard a lot of fire trucks going, and I think they actually were responding down to a freeway accident or something. And then I heard a second set of fire trucks go by, and then the sirens stopped, so I knew they were close by. So I've grown up living in the Mesa Fire Department. My father was a captain for so long, and I've lived and bred the fire department. And so I quickly get in my car and I go down there, and I get there and I can see the Mesa police, I can see the fire department doing their job, and I just happen to be there and pull out my phone as they're going in there. And the Mesa Fire Department did a heck of a job. They did a great job getting in there and getting the water. And you know, I witnessed as they were trying to determine if she was alive or not. And as they pull the door open, and the one fireman puts his hand in there and he's saying not viable, and then all of a sudden I can only imagine she grabs his arm or something and he says viable, and his instincts were quickly to jump into that car, which I don't know if that's protocol or not, but he jumps in the car and pulls her out. And as I'm filming this, I see her coming out and her arms moving. And I thought, what a great sight that was to see that she was moving. And then the care that they took to get her up on the bank and to ensure that nobody else was in the car was just really, really cool. It was cool to see the Mesa Fire Department and the Mesa Police Department working hand in hand to basically help a miracle really happen. That's all I got.
Merrill, thank you very much for that insight. Now, as he described, he talked about units arriving on scene. Within the fire and medical department, it's not just about car accidents and not just about folks who are injured or ill. We also have a great deal of resources that we provide, and we have people who oversee those resources, and that's the special operations side. So there's a whole other side to fire departments that you'll see across the valley who engage in these type of scenarios and these type of incidents. And at this point, I'd like to bring up Deputy Chief Brian Kotzer as well as Captain Dean Morales. They're our special operations chiefs and captain.
Good morning. When this call took place, as Merrill mentioned, this is a pretty challenging situation, but it's not our typical situation. When we have a storm like this, when we have the automatic aid system where any unit throughout the valley, the closest unit responds, that's a huge benefit, and it was on this call. However, the challenge was Dean's responsible for our technical rescue team. That's what we needed on the scene normally. We normally have them on the scene, we set it up, we have a lot of safety features in place. But one of our foundation principles on the fire department is that we risk a lot to save a savable life, and that's what this call was. When I got on the scene, we didn't have good information about how the car went in it or what happened or if there was a viable patient. Quickly, when the crew arrived and told us the information that they had heard, we then made the decision they need to go in now. We can't wait for the technical rescue team to get on the scene. Dean is the special operations captain on our department. Fortunately, he was there right after I was. He has a vest in his truck and a rope, so we were able to modify, do a quick rescue, and like I said, risking a lot to save a life. That's exactly what Dean and the crew here did to make that quick decision and set up a plan, and that's basically how this played out. So Dean, if you want to talk about the plan you guys came up with.
Yeah, so obviously in an ideal world, we would have had special operation crews on scene. Our team was already tied up on a heavy rescue on the other side of town, so we were relying on our automatic aid partners to assist us. This call did not allow for that to take place. We needed to act quicker than that. Again, I carry some basic equipment with me. I was able to bring in the Ladder 201 crew here, outfit them with the equipment that I have, develop the game plan, and then they actually saw the plan through, and they were the ones that made it all happen. And so kudos to these guys here. They did great.
Guys, thank you very much. All right, thank you very much for that perspective. And again, as you all saw in the video, you know, we're a 24-hour, 365-day-a-year operation, and well, 6 on leap year. And we are always ready to go. And whether or not, you know, if we have the technical rescue team or we have our crews are on the front line out there to make it happen, that's what we saw this last Monday. And so I want to bring up the crew of Ladder 201 B shift. We've got Captain Casey Russell. I've got his engineer Tristan Westmoreland. I've got Kyle Kubal and other, as well as Adam Sutter here. Gentlemen, if you mind coming up. So, Captain Russell.
So I can just give, I kind of touch on what everybody else has already. Kind of kudos goes out to everybody that worked with this, starting from the dispatcher to citizens that were on scene and made that call. And then the way our crew worked together, I think everything went pretty smooth as far as not having to over communicate what was going to happen. We knew there was somebody in the vehicle. I had to give very little assignments to my crew as far as what we were going to do. We got a ladder in quickly. Firefighter Kubal was very quick to say he would be willing to go in. That said, I think any of my crew members would have been happy to do that the same. The only thing we stressed was not to get too far in until he did find a victim, and he did find that she was viable. So we gave the order to go inside, and luckily the outcome was what it was, that she came out and hopefully she's doing well.
Thank you very much, guys. And again, we're going to have an opportunity for one-on-ones after we have this portion of the event. Gentlemen, thank you very much. All right, I'd also now like to bring up to the podium Assistant City Manager John Pombier to give us a city perspective.
First of all, he made up that title. My name's John Pombier. I'm an assistant city manager. And you can always tell who's from the city because we follow the firefighters and nobody listens to me after that, all right? I got to follow these four guys. Let me tell you what can't get lost in this situation and what I'm so excited about. The system worked. From the citizens calling in to the two dispatchers that took the call, and they were very humble and very calm. Let me set the stage for you. That's my role up here today. I had gotten a text not long before that from the admin professional in that area to say all hands are on deck. We have so many calls, all the supervisors, everybody is taking a call right now. When this call comes in, these women are taking call after call after call. They listen, you can hear, when you listen to this tape, listen how calm they are in giving that information to the individual. But more importantly, understand this. They have 32 years of experience between the two of them, and they handle it perfectly. Our first responders do an amazing job, but they don't get there if the call is not handled appropriately. They're not there on scene without what these two women did. 9.5 minutes into that call, her phone goes dead. Imagine that for a moment. What happens to these two ladies who took the call? They have to immediately shift gears and take more calls. I asked one of them, when did you find out what happened? She said 30 minutes later. I said, how many calls did you take in that? Countless. No time to think, no time to remorse. You go right back to doing your job so our first responders get there for more people. So when I look at what our citizens did and what our dispatchers did to make the first responders get there on time and make this possible, we've got to thank the whole system. And we can't lose sight of the fact that they don't get there without the work that our call takers, our dispatchers, and our citizens do to get them there. That's the system working. That's what gets somebody like me, an assistant city manager here, and super excited. Because throughout this process, the system worked. And because of that, we have these four gentlemen who show up and get the job done and save an individual. That's the success story. It starts at the very first call and it goes through everything else that's done. And that's what we do here at the City of Mesa to make sure we provide the highest level of protection to our citizens. We make sure we are prepared at each level of the system to provide service on one of our busiest couple hours of the year so far, when absolutely everybody in our system is taking calls. That's why I wanted to personally thank not only the people who called in, but our two dispatchers. Because without them, all the rest of the system never gets a chance to save that life. Thank you.
I tell you what, that's the support and advocacy we get right there on a daily basis. We appreciate that. Now I'd like to bring up Mesa Fire Medical Department Chief Mary Camelli.
Thank you so much for being here. This is really a wonderful day that we get to present some very, very happy news that a life was saved the other day. And I'm glad that Mr. Pombier recognized the dispatchers because that is a key component to this success. But it started all the way down this chain of everybody that we got to talk to today. Ladder 201, I'm so proud. I'm so proud of their efforts that day. They did an amazing job. And as you heard already, the city, every one of our crews was out there going on calls and making a difference. This call in particular absolutely saved a life. I'm proud of what the men and women in the fire department do every single day. It's 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. When you think about public safety, the firefighters and the police officers never know what they're going to have, what challenge they're going to have in a day, ever. And they have to be ready for anything. Every day, firefighters and police officers come to work as game day. And they don't know what they're going to see, they don't know what they're going to be tasked to do. But they're ready, they're well trained, and they do their job. And that day, Ladder 201 did an amazing job, and the results were a life being saved. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Camelli. Now I'd like to bring up an individual representing City Council, Council District 1, Mark Freeman.
Thank you, Forrest, and good morning. I'd like to start out by saying thank you very much to the citizens who called, and from the dispatchers. I had the opportunity to work for Mesa Fire for 31 years and retired as a special teams captain, paramedic, and I understand firsthand what the crew had to go through. From the mayor to the city council, we extend our appreciation to all of those that were involved in this, because I know it's very difficult, and I appreciate their service and all that they do. Would you please join me for a round of applause for all those? Would that be appropriate? Again, it's my opportunity to serve as a council member in this district, and again, I appreciate all that's been done and all the work that goes in the training, and sometimes we have to make snap decisions, and that was made with the LT as they responded to this call, as they finished up another call. As you know, our city was inundated with calls of service, and because we have automatic aid and we're dispatching, Phoenix Fire was responding to this area. The decision was made to make an entry, and we found someone in a car. And I'm sure that person appreciates that, but that all the components that put it together are so important, that life safety is the key component in our organization and all the Valley Fire Departments. So again, I appreciate their service and everything that they did, from the videotape to the entry and to the life safety. Thank you very much.
Okay, that's going to conclude this portion of our presser here. What we're going to do is we're going to have our folks here available for one-on-ones, and we again appreciate your coming out and also sharing this story, and it's nice to have some great news that we're able to put out there. Again, thank you very much.